Boston, a classic frame comes into focus and is photographed for a wall hanging. We'll zoom in on a picturesque background of all-star color. So hold still and capture it all on This Week in Baseball. This Week in Baseball is brought to you by Old Spice Aftershave and Cologne. Splash on the feeling. Splash on Old Spice.
All you gotta do is smell.
National League spirit. Sweet smiles from Chicago fans for the Eastern Division leading Cubs. But the smiles faded when Cincinnati wrote its own story. Tom Hume got his first start after 271 relief outings over 5 years, and he got the win with 6 strikeouts in 5 innings. Brad Goulden produced at the plate in all 3 games, hitting .300 and driving in 4 runs, including 2 in the opener for his second game winner. 35-year-old Dave Concepcion continued to contribute with the gusto of a youngster, hitting .500 against the Cubs with an RBI and 2 stolen bases. Chicago fans couldn't stand to see the end of Game 2. Leading 6-5 in the 9th inning, the Cubs committed 2 errors to put the winning runs aboard. That set the stage for 42-year-old Tony Perez, who has a history of exploiting opportunities. His game winner gave him 1,582 career RBIs, the most among active players. Ted Power came on to collect his second save, and the Reds rained all over Chicago's parade with a 3-game sweep. In Montreal, the bright lights of Olympic Stadium failed to shine on San Francisco as the Expos stayed loose with some tight defense. San Francisco's pitchers appeared positively snake-bit. Gary Carter was pure poison to the Giants, hitting home run number 8 and getting game winners number 5 and 6 and lifting his league-leading RBI total to 41. Terry Francona kept hitting to keep his league-leading average near .370, while Tim Raines stole 3 bases, giving him 17 steals in as many attempts this year. Giants skipper Frank Robinson wanted to hide from Expo pitching as well. Bill Gullickson struck out 7 in 7 innings to get back on track with his first win of the season. Jeff Reardon got win number 2 and save number 7 by striking out 5 in 3 innings of work, returning to form after an off year in '83.
Yeah, a lot of times last year I pitched in pain and had a lot of back problems, and this year during the winter I went through a Nautilus program, and my back nor my arm is ever stiff, so I really think that's the main difference.
Reardon has been making a big difference for the Expos, who swept San Francisco to stay close in the East. In New York, the fans came flocking to Shea Stadium to see the bebopping Mets take on Los Angeles. George Foster began the bopping for New York in the 2nd inning with a tape measure blast beyond the bullpen for a 1-0 lead. It was home run number 8 for Big George. But Dwight Gooden was the main attraction. The 19-year-old rookie struck out 14 Dodgers, giving him 73 strikeouts in less than 52 innings. Good for 2nd place in the majors. With the Mets ahead 2-0 in the ninth, Pedro Guerrero led off against Gooden. Going, and that ball is gone. And with it, so was Gooden. Guerrero was the last batter he faced as Met manager Davy Johnson signaled for relief. And Gooden gave way to one of the best in the business in Jesse Orozco. Orozco got 2 outs, but gave up a single before R.J. Reynolds came to bat. With Gooden anxiously hoping for the final out, Orozco let go, but so did Reynolds. Mookie Wilson gets to the gap, cuts the ball off. He relays to Kelvin Chapman, who wheels, fires a perfect strike to Mike Fitzgerald. Tag made, runner out, game over. And the high-spirited Mets go on to take 2 out of 3 from Los Angeles. In the Mets' next series, Hubie Brooks singled against San Diego to extend his hitting streak to 22 games, longest in the majors this year. The streak included home run number 5, matching his total for all of 83. Brooks hit almost .410 during the streak to raise his average more than 100 points to above .305. Hitting a baseball has been called the toughest job in all of sport, but Manny Mota always made it look easy. Now the first base and hitting coach for the Dodgers, Mota had one of the most fluid batting strokes the game has ever known. Manny compiled a career average of .304 in 19 big league seasons with San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Montreal, and Los Angeles. And he's the all-time leader in pinch hits with 150. The Dominican Republic native had a lifetime pinch hit average of .298. A pressure hitter, if ever there was one, Mota seems ideally suited for the job of helping today's Dodgers clean up at the plate.
That's not the ability and capability of each individual guy, and then that way you know what you're going to work with. Guys who got here, they got a lot of ability and they got a lot of talent. Just a matter of work and be patient with them.
Steve Sachs is one player who attributes much of his prowess at the plate to the teaching skills of Manny Mota.
Manny tries to basically make me hit the ball where it's pitched, which is the right thing to do. He works on me a lot, keeping my hands up so I can get on top of the ball and hit the ball in the liner on the ground so I can utilize my speed. And he also works a lot with me hitting the ball the other way because he thinks that if I can hit the ball the other way, I'll be waiting on the pitch and I can still pull the one to left field.
Another young Dodger with a better grip on his batting is Mike Marshall, who's blossoming under Mota's encouragement.
Come on, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Come on, nice and easy. Make contact now, not too hard. Come on, Mike. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
I don't try to put any pressure on the guys. I just try to give them confidence working as a family. I'm like a father to them, and they are my son.
The Dodger family has won 2 Western Division titles and a World Championship with Manny Mota as hitting coach. Now it's time for this week's Volkswagen quiz, brought to you by the 1984 models. It's not a car, it's a Volkswagen. LA's Fernando Valenzuela was at the top of his game against Philadelphia with 15 strikeouts to challenge for the Major League lead with 73. Strikeout master Steve Carlton looked on as Fernando closed in on his 4th straight season of at least 100 strikeouts. Now for this week's quiz, can you name the pitcher who holds the record for consecutive 100 strikeout campaigns? Stay tuned for a pitcher who also donned Dodger blue.
When it comes to deals, my eyes out there looking, my ears out there listening, my nose is out there smelling, and your tail is out there wagging.
Weeknights at 6:30 here on Channel 9.
With a batting average near .340 by going 4 for 9 against the Indians. New Blue Jay Willie Aikens had only 1 hit in the series, but it was a bases-loaded double that drove home all 3 runners and gave Aikens his first game winner of the season. George Bell sounded off with 5 RBIs in 3 games, including his 5th home run and his 7th game winner. Bell stayed near the top of the majors in hitting with an average above 340. The Blue Jays also cleaned up with some overpowering pitching. Luis Leal cut loose with a 4-hitter, striking out 8 to improve his record to a spotless 5-0. Dave Steve gave up just 3 hits over 8 innings to go 6-1 as the Jays closed in on Detroit to unveil their own version of flag fever. In Seattle, a surprising sweep by the Mariners over Dynamite Detroit. It might be the year of the Tigers, but in this series, they were living dangerously. Happening for Seattle has been rookie Alvin Davis, who went 6 for 13 in the series with home run number 11 to keep his average above 340. Catcher Bob Kearney also made things happen, going 6 for 11 against Detroit with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Ken Phelps happened to be hot as well, hitting .400 in the 3 games and hammering 2 home runs in the finale. No Detroit wave here. This is a Seattle surge, and it continued on the mound, much to the chagrin of Tiger manager Sparky Anderson. Ed Vandenberg has been converted from reliever to starter, and he converted 5 strikeouts in 7 innings to raise his record to 4-2. Paul Mirabella finished all 3 games and picked up his 2nd save as Seattle brought the Tigers back to earth by snapping their Major League record-tying streak of 17 straight wins on the road. The next night in Oakland, Jack Morris led the Tigers back to victory, going all the way and striking out 8 to lift his league-leading total to 68, lower his ERA to 1.79, and raise his record to 10-1, the first 10-game winner in the majors this year. In Boston, the fans at Fenway were silenced and subdued by a royal command as Kansas City dismissed the Red Sox 2 out of 3 by belting out 37 hits and scoring 19 runs. Boston skipper Ralph Houck watched helplessly as George Brett took charge in Game 2, cracking his first homer and going 3 for 5 with 6 RBIs. Since returning to the lineup 2 weeks ago, Brett has really been on fire, hitting above 350. Darryl Motley also administered power, providing the Royals with 5 RBIs and his 4th homer in the opener. With a .500 average at Fenway, Darryl showed that Kansas City was no motley crew. Willie Wilson was leading the way from the leadoff spot, 4 for 9 in the first 2 games, plus 3 stolen bases and 3 runs scored. John Wathan just kept it coming for KC, going 5 for 11 in 3 games and driving in a pair. Dan Quisenberry worked 5 innings without allowing a run in Boston, picking up save number 12 to lead the league and lowering his ERA below 2 as the Royals appeared to right themselves and land just 3 games off the pace in the West. In Oakland, the fans were handed some surprising news: the release of A's manager Steve Burroughs in his second year at the helm. The A's were struggling in 5th place in the West with a 20-24 mark when first base coach Jackie Moore was named to replace Burroughs. The A's beat Baltimore in their final game under Burroughs and then went on to take 2 out of 3 from the New York Yankees to move into 4th, just a game and a half from the top. Not a bad start, Jackie. Best of luck. Now, let's start up the answer to this week's Volkswagen quiz. Don Sutton holds the Major League record for consecutive 100 strikeout campaigns with 18. He did it with the Dodgers for 15 seasons from 1966 through 1980, with Houston in 1981 and 82, and last year with the Milwaukee Brewers. Cy Young, Walter Johnson, and Gaylord Perry also had 18 seasons of at least 100 strikeouts. But only Sutton did it 18 years in a row. Some fans just don't miss any tricks with a fancy-fingered show. When they make a catch, it sticks. And at times, the players wish that were so. Sometimes that baseball is simply nowhere to be found, unless you're willing to get your feet off the ground. But no matter if it's hide and seek or finders not keeping, misplays can give good cause for weeping. Hey, man, let me help you stand. We umpires aren't always a one-man band. I'll let you in on a little fact. Sometimes even we like to get into the act. Blame it on the wind, it sure does blow. But that's the end of this part of the show. Now it's time to pick up the beat and step out in style with some super plays bound to kick off a smile. At the top, Cincinnati's Dave Concepcion. Lou Whitaker, Detroit. Seattle's Gorman Thomas. Baltimore's Orlando Sanchez. Texas Ranger Billy Sample. St. Louis Cardinal Ozzie Smith. Hubie Brooks, New York Mets. Lynn Jones, Kansas City. Another Met, Jose Oquendo. And another Cardinal, Art Howe. Houston's Terry Poole. San Francisco's Tom O'Malley. Damaso Garcia, Toronto. On the rebound, Ron Cey, Chicago Cubs. The Astros again with Bill Doran. Atlanta's Glenn Hubbard. Detroit's Rusty Kuntz. And Montreal's Andre Dawson. On the subject of greats, Boston retired the numbers of 2 Hall of Famers, Joe Cronin, who wore number 4, and number 9, worn by Ted Williams, synonymous with great hitting. They were the first numbers ever retired in the team's 83-year history.
I will always be cognizant of the fact that I've heard a lot of big players have days and numbers retired and days for them and say what a great town they played for. But I want to tell you, as far as Ted Williams is concerned, baseball's the greatest in Boston, and the fans are the greatest, and I salute you.
2 of baseball's immortals. Congratulations. Now, on to San Francisco's Candlestick Park, the 1961 All-Star Game. The wind was whipping so hard that day, giant pitcher Stu Miller was blown off the mound at one point in the game. Hometown hero Willie Mays tied it up in the bottom of the 10th and then scored on Roberto Clemente's hit for a 5-4 National League victory. This year, the game returns to Candlestick on July 10th, and the ballots to choose the stars are now available in every major and minor league park, so cast your vote. Now it's time for the Big Stick Player of the Week Award, brought to you by new improved Old Spice Stick Deodorant and Antiperspirant. Bill Buckner of the Boston Red Sox, this week's winner. Buckner's first American League hit, a 2-run homer in a 6-0 victory over Kansas City. The Red Sox had acquired Buckner 2 days earlier in the trade with the Cubs for pitcher Dennis Eckersley. Didn't like the trade, huh, Dick Hauser? Congratulations, Bill. And that's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.
Now you owe me 4.
Old Spice, an official sponsor of the U.S. track and field team.